If you were down in Ocean City for the 4th of July, I hope you had a wonderful time because in other news, things have changed for the worse. In today's video, I want to take you through exactly what happened, not just in the month of June, but a couple big changes that I've already seen in the month of July that are going to impact the market in a material way. Let's dive right in. If you're new here and this is your first market update, we start with the past and then we work our way to future projections based off of data because that's the only thing that makes sense. So mortgage rates, that is the big hot topic right now. We've gotten past a lot of issues in the past with those, but here we are, and we have seen a pretty massive jump in just the first few days in the month of July. That is mostly a reaction to what has happened at the Federal Reserve. And the minutes from the June meeting were released, and initially everyone was excited because the Fed did not raise rates for the first time in quite a while. However, once those meeting minutes were released, they made it very clear that they intend and plan to raise the rate at least probably 2 more times in 2023 because inflation is still out of control. It's not where they want it to be to avoid bigger economic problems. And that news really rippled through the banking world pretty quickly. Literally just was on the phone with a lender who said in the past 2 days alone, they have been whacked. They went up a quarter point in one day and another quarter point the other, from 6.5% all the way up to 7% for a 30-year conventional mortgage. And that is a big deal. That's basically the peak of where we were in the fall when things really slowed down. So will this be enough to stop some buyers? We're going to get into that in a little bit. Now, inventory at the same time, and this is where we're kind of seeing this tug of war on which side's going to win. Inventory's down again, 7% since the end of May, a little bit over 10% since the beginning of the year, and that's problematic. And I'm excited to show you the first chart that we're going to get to next. Actually, I believe it's the second chart because there's an interesting trend that I want to highlight there. Now, days on market are inching upwards on both sides of the fence, the single family and the condos. Pricing, even though year over year here, right, 11% year over year doesn't sound like stabilizing, right? And 20% definitely doesn't sound like stable. But I'm going to show you again here in the charts why I believe that is the case. So new listings here, and I'm going to slide myself to the left this time. New listings, there's a pretty substantial trend here, right? Starting in 2019 on a line downwards. So we have seen new listings, both single family and condos. And again, when I say condos, it's basically everything that's not a single family home, trending downwards consistently. At the same time, we are down year over year about 12% in June from what we saw last June, and another 12% what we saw last month. So inventory trending down, new listings trending down, leads you to believe, right, that there's still a lot of active buyers. And in this next chart, we are going to see that that is the case. So we have pending home sales. This is everything combined, single families and everything else condo-wise. And we actually took a step up in the month of June. And to backpedal for 1 second, those new listings, typically we've seen an increase in new listings in June compared to May. But again, decrease of 12% tells a very different story. So something else is happening here with an increase in homes going under contract. And I took a step back from this, literally a step back from my screen. And all of a sudden, it became very clear to me that not only 2022 and 2023 in June are looking pretty similar, but the past 2 months looked similar as well. And when I looked, we're really talking about single digit drops. So 4% drop, I believe it was in April, and a 6% drop in May in the number of homes that went under contract. Only slightly fewer homes went under contract this year compared to last year. And here we are in June with an increase compared to June of last year. So if this doesn't scream that we've hit an equilibrium, and again, for the past few months, rates have been in the low to mid sixes. This is not a new thing. It seems pretty safe to say that we have hit an equilibrium, a plateau, whatever you want to call it, because people are still out there buying. So from a close standpoint, again, this closely follows, but here we are again, look back to last year, another spike, more activity than we saw last year. Now, the first half of the year of 2023 was slower than the first half of the year in 2022. So on a yearly basis, we're likely to see a decrease, but things have really evened out. Now, when we get to single family homes, right, here's where we start to differentiate those from the condos specifically in different trends. Inventory had spiked for quite a few months in the past, but here we are plateauing around 7 months of inventory, just above 6. That's our neutral, even market. And that seems to be fairly consistent, at least for 3 months running. And here's the big one. So these prices now going all the way back to October, right, are essentially flat. Yes, they have fluctuated a little bit, not by enough to really give me any cause to say that it's going to change dramatically either way in the near future. So again, if this doesn't show you stable, I don't know what will. And from a days on market standpoint, again, we're stabilizing again, still inching up a little bit, but getting back to normal. And this whole pattern that I'm seeing screams that we're getting back to something resembling normal. Different normal than we were used to pre-COVID. But however, in terms of percentages, activities, all these metrics that we look at, they're showing that things are getting back to the way that they were, just at a lower overall sales volume, right? About 20 to 30% lower than we saw in a normal year pre-COVID. So the condos and townhomes, again, different story here. We are well below 6 months of inventory and continue to stay that way. Even outside of last month, a little bit of a blip, we've been trending downwards. So that condo market is still heating up, and that is reflected, once again, in the prices that are still inching up. Just over the past 5-ish months, those prices are up about 7%. And even though it may feel like, that's a glitch, it'll come back down, the months that are going to fall off of this 12-month average that I take are much lower than what is likely to come. So I would anticipate that this is going to keep growing. And days on market, again, we are inching up here. Nowhere near where we were pre-2021 in the 70+ day range, but still inching up nonetheless. Now, here's the big one, right? So what is the Fed going to do, right? Can people depend on a refinance? What's mortgage rate going to be next month versus the next month? We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but from the past, there's a phrase that had been making the rounds: don't fight the Fed, right? Anytime the Fed gets involved in things, they tend to be pretty headstrong. They may ignore forward-looking trends in favor of past-looking data. It's not ideal, but they've stayed true to themselves thus far, and there really isn't a reason to doubt that they will continue to do that. Now, I had somebody point out, and they're completely correct, the Fed tends to act pretty slowly on the way up when they're hiking rates, but they can cut rates pretty quickly in a hurry. So we could see this trend continue for the rest of 2023, some of 2024, depending what changes. If inflation comes back down, if we really hit a true recession, that could change, right? Mortgage rates could fall off a cliff. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So the biggest piece of advice that I can continue to give people is to not depend on increasing appreciation or increasing rental income or decreasing mortgage rates in order to be comfortable with a purchase you're going to make here or in any other second home market, because it applies everywhere. Primary home's a different story. You need what you need, but this is a want and not a need for the majority of people. So you have to make sure that this is a decision that is not going to put you in jeopardy, that's not going to put you and your family at risk. And I view it in two ways, right? Financial health and mental health, because you don't want to have stress between you, your spouse, your family for doing something that maybe you shouldn't have done, right? You took a risk and it didn't quite work out. It may work out. I see no reason why properties aren't going to continue to appreciate in value here, because I just don't see where inventory is going to come from en masse to change the supply-demand dynamic that we have been going through over the past 2 years. And I have had 3 phone calls in the last, now it's probably pushing 36 hours, but basically the last day, where there are buyers that are stepping out of the market. Some of them would have been sellers too, but making that upgrade no longer is viable because of the mortgage rates continuing to increase and prices continuing to increase. So I'm starting to see anecdotally the shift that I had expected over the past few months. Will it be enough to slow things down? That brings me to inventory, right? If inventory were staying flat or slowly increasing, I would have a better feeling that in the coming months, we are going to see some pressure mount on sellers to reduce the prices a little bit or even just stop raising them. However, if inventory is going down and activity, as you saw in those charts, has actually picked up compared to what we would have expected, and there's really no sign to expect that new listing pattern to reverse, right? We should have historically seen an increase in new listings in June. We didn't. We saw a decrease. Historically, we see a small decrease in July. Are we going to see a bigger decrease than normal? I'm going to keep a very close eye on that. But basically, inventory is still the biggest problem. And I know that's been something I've really harped on for quite a while now. And in my initial projections for why I thought prices would fall at most 5% in 2023 by the end of 2023, the biggest requirement for that was that we were going to hit about 300 to 350 homes on the active market. We're very far from that at about 230 when I look today. So we need essentially a 50% increase to get to that point. And that, I don't know where that would come from. Whether it's the windmills, right? Are people going to get so upset about the wind farm project that they're all going to sell their homes? I've seen some rumblings of people threatening to do that. Taking action is a different beast. We don't know. So price wise, again, I don't see a whole lot in the cards to encourage sellers to reduce prices past what is reasonable. Again, there are sellers out there that are still very overpriced. They should reduce their prices if they actually are interested in selling their home. But we're still seeing multiple offers on homes that are in great locations, not even in great condition, and sometimes not even priced quite right. They could be even a little high. There are two in the past week that have had multiple offers. One was actually priced low, and I assumed that would happen. They ended up with multiple cash offers, no contingencies, all over asking. And then there's a whole building, a whole duplex, just basically one house off the beach. That same deal, multiple cash offers in the first few days. And that building needed some love, needed some updating inside. But that's not stopping people. So all that said, I wish I had some more good news for you if you are looking to buy. Now, if you are looking to sell, you still have an opportunity. And it's if you want to sell. Everyone knows I'm a big proponent of never selling here in Ocean City. But if you do want to sell, if you're considering a move somewhere else, you have an opportunity now that I don't know how long it's going to stay around for. Competition is still extremely low in almost every category in every location, because as inventory drops, your competition is going to decrease by default. So if that's something you are looking to explore or consider, again, there is still plenty of demand out there. Happy to chat. Give me a call, shoot me a text. All my contact info is down in the description. But I hope you found this helpful today. I'm going to keep coming out with these. I'm going to go back to mid-month, so basically twice a month updates with these. So if you want to make sure that you see them and are the first to be aware that they're coming, make sure you hit subscribe down below and turn on that notification bell as well. So thanks for hanging out with me as always, and I will see you next time.